Hey guys, I'm going to be sharing my story with you today about how I went from a GED all the way up to starting my PhD in a couple of weeks. While I grew up in a middle class family, neither of my parents actually graduated high school. My mom got her GED when she dropped out of high school, and my dad never went back. This is East Gaston High School. This is where I attended high school at. It's located in Mount Holly, North Carolina, just west of Charlotte. My story actually starts a couple years before I got to East Gaston here. In middle school, I was having a real rough time. You know, my dad had a massive head injury a few years before. I was acting out in middle school. I was misbehaving. I was like every teacher's nightmare student. So I spent a lot of time in lunch detention, a lot of time in the counselor's office trying to figure out what was going on and why I was just acting out and being crazy. In 8th grade, I actually ended up failing because I was acting so out of control. I wasn't being like major problems, like I wasn't fighting or doing drugs, but I was being very disruptive and disrespectful to my teachers. I arrived at East Gaston High School and did okay through about the 11th grade. Although I will say I was very confused in math and science. Those are two of my most difficult subjects to this day, and it might sound cliche, but I did feel a little left behind in those subjects. One day I came into school and just decided that I could not do it anymore. Like I was so far behind in math and science that I would never catch up. I was zoned out, not paying attention because I was so far behind. And so in this room right here, that is where I decided to leave and drop out of high school. I didn't make the decision to quit lightly, you know. I thought about it for a little while. I played sports here. I played soccer and golf. I didn't want to leave my teammates. I didn't want to leave my friends. I didn't want to disappoint my teachers. But the reality was that I just was not getting a good education. And that's not blaming the school or the system. You know, I did my own fair share of not paying attention and skipping out on school. But it was what it was. So I left, went to my car on that side of the school, and drove home to tell my parents what I did. We're now at Gaston College, which is in Dallas, North Carolina. This is where I came after I dropped out of high school to get my GED. So when I left East Gaston, I went home, which is about a mile away, and I told my parents what I did, and they were pretty upset with me because I had the potential, I had the smarts, I just couldn't keep up. And the biggest part was that I just stopped trying, I believe. So anyway, I came here the same day and enrolled in my GED program. And about a month later, I passed the test with honors and got my general education diploma. These guys here were awesome. They were so supportive. They encouraged me to keep going further for my education. And so I actually went back to school here on the campus of Gaston College. I started in architecture. I thought I could do the math and do enough to where I could be designing buildings and doing construction work. And after about half a semester, I realized that I couldn't really do that stuff. So I just dropped out of those classes as well. And for about a year or two, I just worked some part-time jobs until I met Katie, and she's the one who really pushed me to get back in school and to get my education. After I left Gaston College, I came to Central Piedmont Community College to get my associate's degree. After I got my associate's degree at Central Piedmont, I moved on to UNC Charlotte to receive my bachelor's degree in English with a minor in technical writing. I actually graduated from UNC Charlotte in 3.5 years by overloading my schedule every semester. After I received my bachelor's degree from UNC Charlotte, I took a few years off to work in the corporate world doing a bunch of different stuff like healthcare education and professional audio sales. But once I got back into the classroom and entered as a lateral entry teacher, I decided that I needed to go back and get a higher education degree. I went back and got a Master's of Arts in Teaching Middle Grades English, and I graduated in July of 2018. My PhD is in Curriculum and Instruction with a concentration in Urban Literacy. When I look back over my educational journey, I do feel proud of what I've accomplished. Life would have been a lot easier and more straightforward had I not dropped out of high school, so I definitely would have gone back and tried to persevere through the last 2 years. But with that being said, I probably wouldn't be the person I am today without my story. So I am so excited to start my PhD, and I can't wait to see how well it goes. The first thing I would say is that you are worth fighting for and that you need to go back and get your education. I know it's cliche and everyone says education matters and people argue that it doesn't, but it does. It lets you get where you want to be in life. If you're watching this video and you are that person who hasn't gone back to school, I'd like to really push you to go back to school, get your GED, and then go get your education. There are sources out there that can help you get funding, scholarships, grants from the government. I mean, it's out there. All you have to do is go out and find it. First off, congratulations. I, of all people, know it's no small feat to get your GED, and I'm very proud of you for doing that. I would challenge you to move forward and go to a community college and get your associate's degree, and if it's in the cards for you, continue on to your bachelor's degree. It is so worth it. It's going to improve your life, it's going to improve your income, and never let anyone tell you that a GED doesn't mean anything, because it does. It's just different than a high school diploma, but it means the same thing, and I think that's great. Let me dispel a myth for you. I hear a lot of times people say, I want to go to school, but I can't afford it. I don't have enough money to go to school. And that's fine, I didn't either. However, financial aid offices at universities are more than willing to help you find funding. It doesn't always have to be student loans. I got a full ride on my undergrad because I was so poor. I got a full ride to Central Piedmont and UNC Charlotte by Pell Grant, and those don't have to be repaid. So I would say ask first. It never hurts to ask what's available, and a lot of times if your income is lower, then you will qualify for grants that don't have to be repaid. Secondly, I would say to readjust your vision for your schooling. For me, I got accepted to a private university here in Charlotte, and it was very expensive. Did I go there? No, I couldn't afford it. So instead, I went 2 years at a community college, Central Piedmont, and then 2 years at UNC Charlotte to get my degree. I have yet to meet a single employer or a single person who has looked down on me for going to a 2-year community college and then 2 years at UNC Charlotte. Those people are rare, or they just straight up don't exist. So I would say ask about financial aid and be sure to adjust your expectations accordingly. You are not too old to go back. You guys see on the news where these 60, 70, 80, 90-year-old people are graduating high school and college? It's never too late. You might feel overwhelmed and too busy with your life, and that's understandable, but it is never too late to go back to school. So if you're watching this and you're in your 20s, 30s, 40s, even 50s, get up and go ask somebody about going back to school, because you can do it. The only roadblock to your education is you, and once you move you out of the way, it's easy peasy. Two biggest issues that I see are people saying, I don't have time and I don't have the motivation. For the time part, we're in the 21st century. A lot of classes, a lot of programs, a lot of degrees are online, even at the local level. So if you don't have time, I completely get that, but I don't have time either, and I'm making time for it. So it's all about priorities. Do you want to better your life through education? And are you willing to make the sacrifices in the short term for the benefits in the long term? That's the first part. The second part is, I don't feel motivated. And I completely agree and understand this viewpoint, because I wasn't motivated either. You have to reevaluate and ask yourself, is this short-term pain going to be worth the long-term gains? And for education, you will always get a return on your investment. So I would say if you could just bite the bullet and work your way through it over the next couple of years, it'll pay off in the end. That's it. That's my journey from a high school dropout to someone starting their PhD here in a couple of weeks. I hope it's encouraged and inspired you in some way. If you are that person out there who is struggling with their education and wondering if it's worth it and will the pain and the fight of getting that degree be worth it, it is a solid yes. Your energy, your time will all be well spent by getting a degree in education. And listen, I am the guy who a few years ago would have said you don't need an education, it's not worth it. But I've seen how it's affected my life, how I've been able to get the things I've wanted to get. I could not have done it without that. So I want to encourage you to continue on with your education, go back to school, be strong, and make us all proud. We're rooting for you.